This is Family Lendverse, and here are some unethical sales tactics that you can use to close your deals. I'm gonna break them down in depth. It is Halloween today, so I do have to start passing out candy in a second. But anyways, I'm gonna get started. So number one is mirroring. So when you're talking to a seller, it's important for you to understand who you're talking to, understand their tone of voice, their tonality, how they're talking to you, the pacing in how they're talking, and to match it. It's almost like being empathetic. You need to know exactly how they're feeling, exactly what they're saying, unless they're angry. If they call you and they have an angry or irritated tone, match it and mirror it with politeness, with kindness, right? And calm them down. Match it and mirror that with literally an extreme amount of calm. If they're, oh, why the fuck did you send me this letter? No, 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 no. Match it with calmness. That works 10 out of 10 times, and you're gonna be able to calm these sellers down when you do that, and you match their tone with calmness. If they're calm, be calm. You don't always want to be salesy. You don't always want to have that commission breath. You don't want to have that, because in this, they can sense it, right? You want to always present yourself as if you're a large company to your sellers. You always want to be like, yeah, you know, we've been doing this for quite a while. Even if it's your first deal, we've been doing this for quite a while, we're an established company, et cetera, because that'll allow them to trust you more. And so it's very important to do that. You want to mirror your sellers. It's important. If they are nice to you, be nice to them. If they say, oh, I had a really bad day today, then okay, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's try to build that rapport, which gives me into the next point of rapport building, right? So people don't understand what rapport building is. What is that? Rapport building is building up a sense of trust with your seller over an amount of time. So whether that be over 3, 4, 5, 10, even 20 calls, you want to build up rapport with your seller so that they trust you to come to the closing table once they sign that purchase agreement. So obviously you have your front-facing public image that they see, you have your website, you have what they call, you have the letter, you have all these things that they can actually go and look up about you. But when you get on the phone, your rapport building has to be 10 to 20 times better than everyone that's around you, because most people are not going to put in the work to build a rapport. Most people just care about getting a deal. If you genuinely in your mind say that I'm going to do my best just by being myself to help this person trust that I'm going to perform and that I'm a good person, then they're going to go with you, because most people are not going to put that work in. Most people will call once, twice, 3 times and just say, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore. You want to be able to build rapport with the seller. It's very important. There's been times where I have closed deals and negotiated tens of thousands of dollars down just because of the rapport that I built with that person. And also, it's funny how all these kind of just go into one another. Follow-up is a very key component of rapport building. If you can consistently... Hi. Yeah, I am. I'm going to come back to you downstairs. Give me 1 second. So in your rapport building, it's important to also be consistent in your rapport building. Even if a seller calls you and curses you out and says, there's absolutely no way I would ever sell this property to you, you're trash, all these other things, right? Still follow up. Follow up kindly. Don't take it personally. They don't know you. They don't know you from the man on the moon. So if you follow up with them consistently and then you just help them understand that I'm here to help, and maybe you can even get to the point where you calm them down enough to where you've now identified a reason why they might want to sell. See, these are the things that most people don't talk about. This is how you get to that point where you're making 600K on a deal, 300K on a deal, because you followed up and you followed through and you built that rapport over time. Every single deal is not just going to come easily to you. It just won't. And so you have to understand that, like, when you're able to follow up consistently, time after time after time after time, and I mean text, email, call, voicemail, send another letter if you have to, do everything in your power once you actually get a viable lead in to continuously follow up with that lead until you close the lead or until you find out that they die. But the thing is, that process doesn't even end there, because then you could have followed up enough to where you've told them to get it into a trust, so that way they don't have to go through probate. This goes so much deeper than just, oh, I send out the mail and I call a couple times and it works or it doesn't work. If you really want to get to the point where you're building a sustainable business out of this and you're making multiple 6 figures a year, 7 figures a year, that's how you do it. You do it with the follow-up. So you want to make sure that you're consistently following up with your leads. When people talk about competition, I never worry about competition because I know that these people are not going to do what I do. They're not going to do it how I do it. And so you have to know that. No one is going to mirror, build rapport, or follow up like I can. Not even any of you. And so the reason why I'm able to make these videos, the reason why I teach, the reason why I coach is because I know that even when I do that, there's not going to really be any competition because no one can do it how you can. And that's what you have to know in your head. That's a mindset thing. You have to know that like no one's going to be able to follow up as relentlessly as me. No one will be able to build rapport like I can. No one will be able to mirror a seller like I can. That's what you have to have in your head, and like that confidence of knowing that is what's going to allow you to consistently get deals under contract and buy and sell deals consistently. Like most people are not going to have that mentality, and that's the reason why most people fail at this game. This one, oh my gosh, this one has made me, I don't know, maybe this year alone, maybe about $500,000. Crunch time counter, okay? So there has been many times this year where we get down to crunch time, we're about to close on a property, and I go, okay, let me really look at the market. What gets this property sold in 30 days? Because I don't look at what gets the property sold in 60 days, 90 days, 100 days. I'm trying to get it sold as fast as possible. Now, if it goes over 30 days, okay, but I'm trying to be as aggressive as possible on the market. So just as an example, let's say a property can sell in 30 days at 150 grand, maybe market value is around $200,000, okay? I'm under contract for 75 grand. Can I call the seller and identify a pain point on this property that can help me get this property under contract for 60? 9 times out of 10, I find at least one pain point, either in the seller, their motivation for selling, or the property itself. So let's say that the property was a little bit overgrown. I had someone go see the property and I got it under contract at 75. What I'm gonna go do is call the seller and say, hey, look, John, I know I said 75, but I'm only gonna be able to do 60 because it's actually just come to my attention that this property, it's actually just come to my attention that this property is overgrown. It's gonna cost us around $10,000 to $15,000 to clear the roads, all those other things. It's just not worth 75 in its current state, right? Me as the buyer, my perception is that it's not worth 75 in its current state. Ultimately, what you have to understand is that you as a buyer determine the market with that seller. And so when you understand that you can identify pain points, and listen, this is not always gonna work, but this can make you over time hundreds of thousands of dollars more. Always make that counter and don't be afraid to counter. So what I've just done is turn my $75,000 profit deal into a $90,000 profit deal. And I've done that just by picking up the phone and calling. So these are certain tactics that we use in order to increase profitability consistently and also sell our properties faster. Because then on the flip side, if let's say that property can sell at 150 and I think that's a fast pace, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say in 30 days, we don't have any offers at 150, then I can drop it to 130, right? So you put yourself in position consistently to be profitable. When you buy right, you'll never lose. Newer people will ask me, how do you know that you're actually gonna make money on this property? How do you know that it'll work for you? How do you know that you're not gonna lose money? It's because I buy right. I always buy right, and I'm not afraid to make offers. Even though we have offers on our letters, you still need to be making offers on the phone once you've identified who you're talking to and what your seller is about, what their motivations are, why they want to sell. Why did you even call me in the first place? Don't be afraid to make that offer. So sir, with that being said, I can do around $65,000. Would that work for you? And being quiet. You need to be talking numbers consistently with your sellers as you're building rapport. And don't be afraid of the rejection. You see, a lot of people don't make offers, they don't make counter offers, they don't do any of those things because you're afraid of rejection. You can't be afraid of that. If you're getting into the land business in 2024, 2025, you have to be absolutely fearless because there's somebody else out there that will make that call. There's somebody else out there that will make that offer. There's somebody else out there that will spend hours on the phone. And if you're not willing to do that, you will fail. You won't get any deals, you won't close any deals. And it's important to understand that if you're not making offers every single day, how can you get properties under contract? You got to consistently be making offers. You need to consistently be talking to people. You need to consistently have leads in. If you're consistently having conversations, consistently making offers, doing all these things, it's going to be near to impossible for you to not have a profitable business in 2025. Now, as you're building rapport with your sellers, a big part in people doing business with you, especially some of these people that are in the South, some of these larger recreational tracks, they want you to be similar to them. They don't want you to be polar opposites to them, because then they're not going to do business with you. And that's just the truth. So it's important to understand that, we don't ever want to lie to anyone. We want to be 100% honest. But as you're building rapport, as you're talking to your sellers, you want to try to find some similarities between you and them. Find some things that you can be like-kind on. Find some things that you guys have in common. Even if they're completely different to you, you have to talk to them enough to find like 1 or 2 similarities. I'm pretty sure that most of us love our mom. And so I would even find something like that, like something that's so common, like just a similarity, right? That's obviously a random thing, but you have to find similarities with these sellers. Some of my biggest deals I've closed have been when I use the phrase, happy wife, happy life. And, things about being a good husband and being a good dad, and talking to sellers about those kinds of things. You'll be surprised just how much people like you that much more just because of that. Or talking about traveling. I talk about traveling to a lot of my sellers. I just visited Paris or whatever it is. Oh, I visited Paris too. And you have to find some kind of similarity. Like, you'd be surprised how easy some of this stuff is. And you have to, again, find something like-kind to you and the seller. When you find that, it becomes very easy for you to close deals. I thought that they would have came when it was dark. Like, when I was a kid, I trick-or-treated in the dark. It's still light outside. That's what you get when you live in this kind of zip code. Anyways. So find some similarities between you and your seller. It's just important to do, because if you can find some similarities between you guys and they feel like, this person is similar to me in maybe 1 or 2 ways, or I can see where this person is coming from, that establishes more trust. You have to be able to do everything possible to establish more trust. And really, the only thing that is, it can be untrustworthy is the crunch time counter, which is why you need to find a valid pain point. Don't just use this. And again, I have probably 30 more tactics to use that I teach my Landverse students, which is why they all crush it. But you want to use the crunch time counter in context. It has to actually be a pain point. There has to actually be somewhere where you're like, this actually I can see how this would diminish the value of the property in the eyes of the market, in the eyes of the demand of the buyers. Don't just make a crunch time counter. If you have a smoking deal, there's no real reason to do that. Keep it, right? If you already negotiated, did what you're supposed to do on the front end before closing, you don't need to make any crunch time counters. So that's the only thing that I would say be wary about. All these other things, you do these things, it's gonna be very easy for you to get deals under contract. This is part 1. I'm probably gonna do 4 or 5 more parts of this series. And this Femi Landverse Halloween special, I have to go past that candy now. So 4 more parts coming. Much love. Let me know how you guys like the video.